And we welcome you to another edition of This is Wrestling. It is Lee Versage alongside the one and only Zach frickin' McGibbon. ZFG, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Versage. I am preparing, as I'm sure you are as well, for this snow that is going to come down in our region. In our area, it's supposed to be 10 to 20 centimeters of snow coming, and it will continue through to tomorrow. And so preparing for that. I also got sent a text before we started this recording, Lee, and I will send it over to you in a moment. But apparently I have another doppelganger out there. I apparently... Our old friend Bear from CFRA sent me a text. Yeah, I haven't heard from Bear in a while. He sent me a text, and it was a screenshot or a photo of what was being streamed on CTV News over there. And there's a guy that's standing in front of Premier Doug Ford that looks a lot like me. And I am just about to send you that text right now. And I want to get your thoughts on the record on if you think that is me, if it's somebody else, if that's pretty accurate. So the text should be sent to you right now.
Okay. I am opening it, and this is live, folks. Come on. That's just not true. That's not. Zach McGibbon's hanging out with Doug Ford, and who else is there?
I don't know who it is behind Doug Ford.
Okay.
But that is in Washington, D.C., so it might be one of the White House officials there. I could be wrong.
Well, look, you're a man of a lot of different talents, but time travel, I'm not sure, is one of them. How did you get from Washington to Bell Vegas so quickly?
Well, you see, it's not me. I'm actually scared of how much it looks like me. I got a lot of doppelgangers out there, Lee. It's scary. He's got a nice beard though. He looks good. I like the hair. I like the beard.
Yeah, of course. If he looks like you, he must look good, eh?
I mean, come on. The guy's looking good. He's got a nice suit on. He's getting set. He's outside Doug Ford's office, and now the word is spread and message has been sent. I have also got one from our executive director of This Is Wrestling. Haven't heard from her in a while, Sam Pope, and she said I was caught slacking, and I need to get back to work on This Is Wrestling, or else she will make the pic go viral.
Okay, well, first of all, the pic looks like it's from national television.
Yes.
Which,
technically viral if you want to go into the technicalities.
I feel like national television is kind of what viral was before viral. And second of all, it's nice of Pope to be able to stop traveling for like 5 nanoseconds to actually get to work.
I know. It seems like every photo I see, she's out at a different city or at a beach somewhere.
Oh my God.
Hey, enjoy life to the fullest, I say. But she's also the executive director.
But don't pretend to then work.
Yeah, exactly.
Be a traveler. Don't pretend.
and then claim to be the executive director of This Is Wrestling.
Well, that I can confirm.
Still the executive director.
Yeah, which is better than Bunda, which is better than a lot of people. In fact, Zach, so speaking of pictures, I'm going to send you one. I'm not going to do it right now because it will take up the entire show.
Okay.
I am going to send you a picture. So I was told, I know this is, and for people, I might decide to put it up, but if I put it up, I'm never going to live it down. Like ever. So I was told back in my history of my family that my great grandmother was one that loved wrestling so much, like in the 50s, sit down Saturday nights, I think 6 or 7 o'clock. And my uncle would tell stories about having to fix the tubes behind the television because they would burn out. And if they burnt out during wrestling, that was no good. Like, she loved wrestling. And that's where I get it from. And I was very proud. One of the things that I do as I would say, a bad habit. It's not a bad habit because it's not bad for me. But one of those kind of nuanced habits, um, for lack of a better word, Zach, I kind of pick my chin.
Okay.
Maybe pick some hairs off my chin. Okay? Which is an odd thing, but I've been doing it for my whole life.
Right.
And then my uncle sent me a picture of my great-grandmother picking her chin.
Oh boy.
And if you saw the picture of my great-grandmother, I don't know how people would be respectful. It literally looks like me.
Wow. The similarities are strong.
Strong. Like it's not kind of strong. It's really strong.
Wow.
Yeah. And I almost want to do it to let people know and just go, hey, this is my great-grandmother. Is she pretty? And then see what people say, because I mean, I have a lot of respect for my family, Zach.
Of course.
I don't think I look like her. I think she looks like me. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Interesting.
But I'll send you a picture and then you can comment. But we have a lot to comment on because, Zach, as I told you before the program, I have a lot on my wrestling mind, in my wrestling chin that I need to pick at. Because we have a ton to get to. We have AEW Grand Slam in Australia, Brisbane, Australia, coming up whenever the NBA All-Star Game ends on Saturday night. We have that to get ready for. We have releases, both companies. We have our main event for WrestleMania, ? But the first match for WrestleMania is set. And from those releases, we have a debut on NXT already. And I know you are probably excited that we have a new IWGP champion.
Oh, yes.
So there is a ton to get to on this particular program. And Zach, and I'll tease this, and I'll try not to get to it at the beginning because I'm fired up about it. One of the dumbest things I've ever seen in professional wrestling from a logic point of view.
Ooh, all right. Can I ask if it's gonna make our AEW super fan Ben Sublier upset?
No.
Okay, good. Can avoid the messages for another day.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try and be positive on a card that is not a pay-per-view card, but they're trying to make it seem like it, but it really isn't. But again, they're trying to make it look like it is. So we'll talk about the card. I'm not as fired up about a big AEW card as I usually am, but it's worth talking about. But we'll get to that a little bit later as well. Because I want to start with the releases, Zach. Surprised? AEW releases a couple of, I would say, big stars. And one of them showed up at NXT already. Who is that, Zach?
That man would be Ricky Starks.
What?
Or as he was introduced on WWE TV on NXT. You know who he is. I no name or anything like that. You just know who it is. So interesting how things can change on a dime like that in pro wrestling.
Do you think that he will continue to be Ricky Starks? Do you think he'll be some sort of version of Daniel Bryan Danielson. Changing a name, but it kind of still being the same. Starks Richardson.
Starks Richardson. Oof.
Kind of feels like it. Or I know the WWE has trademarked a bunch of names over the last week. Are they going to use one of those and completely change his name? What was your first thought of Ricky Starks already showing up NXT this week?
I was surprised. I was surprised it was this quick when it came to Ricky Starks debuting on TV. I know that there was a lot of discussion about him over the last little bit on his relationship with AEW, him being on the sidelines, where did things stand with him and Tony Khan. But we heard about the release. It sounded like that Tony Khan just said, you know what? We are moving on from a bunch of these names. All it does is just bring some more negativity to the company when it comes to how we're handling this with their contracts, and said, you know what? We're going to negotiate their releases. We'll come to an agreement and we'll let them out of their contract, and we'll get all that bad press that we've been getting when it comes to the handling of Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, Miro. Get that out the door and start anew in AEW and move on. And in the case of Ricky Starks, first of all, I'm just glad that we can stop the speculation about if Ricky Starks will go to WWE, because I feel like I've been hearing that for at least the last 2 years. I might even go as far to say as soon as he debuted in AEW, it seemed like people were talking about him showing up in WWE. But I'm glad that's done. I'm glad that he's moved forward and we can move forward on this. In terms of the debut itself, I gotta tell you, Lee, I was kind of a bit underwhelmed with the way that they debuted him on TV. I didn't think that the pop was as big as I thought it was going to be, especially considering the surprise factor. Putting him on NXT, while I totally understand the move, and I think it's a smart move, the way that he had been built up by the fan base, and, you know, when the story was discussed, you would have thought that this was a future WrestleMania main eventer just waiting in the wings that would show up in WWE. And if he truly was this guy, he would not be in NXT. He would be on the main roster right now, and they would utilize him in some sort of program. So on that front, I felt it was a little underwhelming. I didn't think the pop was enough, as mentioned earlier. It felt very rushed to me, like they wanted to get out ahead and shock people. But in doing so, it left me feeling, oh, we've already got Ricky Starks. We don't have to wait much longer. We don't have to build up the anticipation more and more. We are just moving forward with this. And I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity, personally. Now, obviously, he's a very talented guy. I enjoy Ricky Starks. I think he's a tremendous promo guy, and I think he'll fit in quite well in that WWE system. I think he's a good wrestler that can go to the next level when you pair him up with a better wrestler. I think back to the strap match that he had with Bryan Danielson. And I remember raving about that at the time. I think I even gave it like 5 stars. I really love that match. But
also the Cody match.
The Cody match, yes, that was also very good. But you see the common thread of those is like, those are guys that you know can go out there and have a great match. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of other matches for Ricky Starks from a singles capacity where I go, yep, that's a guy that can be, you know, that could go out there and consistently have great matches with a lot of people. And that's not a bad thing. Again, he can, with the right opponent, he could go to that next level. I think he's a good professional wrestler. I think in that system he will thrive. And again, I think he's a very good talker. But all that to say, I think it shows that it's a little bit of a rush job in my mind. I'm interested to hear your thoughts about the Ricky Starks debut.
I actually feel quite differently than you do about it. I think Ricky Starks is a good wrestler, not a main event wrestler, not a guy that is going to, as soon as he gets to WWE, is going to just take off because he now has his opportunity. I think there there was a little bit of a rush in, like, Ricky Starks goes from the NWA and the hottest free agent, and he goes into AEW, and he makes a splash. But I also think he rubs some people the wrong way, which we're seeing more and more in AEW now. But I do agree with you that I'm not sure that he's a guy that puts asses in seats yet.
Yeah.
And again, and we're going to probably talk a little bit more about Jey Uso. And is Jey Uso the best in-ring worker? No, we both agree on that. But my point with Jey Uso for months now has been he puts asses in seats. Well, Ricky Starks isn't the best professional wrestler, and he's not putting any asses in seats. So I kind of like the fact that, okay, he's out of AEW. He hasn't been on TV in a while. And he did that interview with Chris Van Vliet that I think got him in even more trouble. And one of the things that, and I listened to that entire interview, one of the things I did not like about it is you can have a little bit of a confidence about you, but there does cross a line when you really haven't done anything in the business, from confidence to a little Rick Martel, a little arrogance.
Yes, very nice. Get the spray out there as well.
Yeah, and I get it. You have to believe in yourself. But some people can just believe in themselves and not come across the wrong way and not go too far too early. And he does remind me of somebody that has come along, and that some veteran is going to get a hold of this guy. And look, I don't know why I've seen a million times on social media this week, because it's the anniversary of William Regal and Goldberg. And the first match that somebody actually went in and like, yeah, Bill, it ain't going to go this way.
Yes.
It's going to go this way instead.
Yeah.
And it was almost that, okay, somebody's got to tell him or teach him or something that it's just not always going to go this way. And it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Now, that's not saying he can't be a star, because I think Ricky Starks can be a star. But I think he's got a ways to go. And I like the fact that, okay, he's been off of TV for a while. I don't think there was going to be any more buildup if you held off for a month or two on Ricky Starks. And I thought they did exactly what they should have. It's like, okay, you're here. We know who you are, that kind of thing, whether it's a name change or not. But you're going to have to work your way through. And I don't think that's a bad thing for him in a system that, if he can excel in, that will allow him to grow. But when he came out, I was like, yeah, this is where he should be. He is a guy on NXT that has a bit of a name, and that's it. Like, I don't see him. I see him, I guess, at the bottom of, like, he's got to prove himself. He's got a great chance to prove himself in NXT. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to do that. But I thought his debut was exactly kind of what I thought of Ricky Starks. Just another guy that has kind of shown up, and then we'll see what he does. It's not about the debut. It's about the body of work. So I'm excited to see him go through that, but there's been many, like, I don't know what's going on with Lexus King or Brian Pillman Jr. or
right.
But that's just not gone very well.
No. And I want to say quickly too, I think with Starks, he's had a few opportunities. I think people undersell how many opportunities he had in AEW. Mm-hmm. Like he had the world title program, albeit short. I'll give him that, but he did have a world title program with MJF.
Yep.
And he was impressive there. He got a tag team championship, a tag team run, I should say, with the championships. He was featured in programs. I mean, I was joking about it on this program, just how much they were trying to put this guy over on Chris Jericho, the modern day Hulk Hogan, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times Ricky Starks was just beating Jericho over and over and over again. And also was in a tournament with CM Punk and was, I believe, won that tournament too. Beat CM Punk. So he's had opportunities in AEW. For whatever reason, it's just not grabbed a hold. Was it him? Was it the company? Like, I think it's a little bit of both. But for whatever reason, he just never grabbed hold. And I think that means something. And I think that's also a reason, I think you make a great point as well, why he's in NXT, to prove himself. Say, hey, can you maintain your level of overness, for lack of a better term? Can you maintain your character? Can you be a guy? So I want to make it clear. I think the NXT move is smart because he could be a featured guy. It's essentially similar to the Ethan Page stuff.
Exactly. I was going to bring up Ethan Page, actually.
So it's very similar there. And I think he's better than Ethan Page personally. So I think it's a very good path. You know, it is funny to me that with all the hype the fan base had put behind him, that he is in NXT, just from a comedic standpoint. But in terms of an actual logical standpoint, it makes a ton of sense for him to be in NXT. I guess where we differ is I think they could have held it off a little bit more. And I do feel like the debut was a bit rushed and they could have gone a little bit more out of it. I'm not saying like 2 months down, but like a few weeks, I think would have been all right.
But I think also, like, look, this is a bit of the rush season, because if you want to get on and be at WrestleMania weekend, and not that he's going to be on WrestleMania, but if you want to get involved in some things leading up to it and be a part of the WWE during WrestleMania time, you better get on it now. Like, there's only a couple of months. So if you wait, he's been off TV for a long time.
Yep.
So I don't know about being off for another month. Like, I just don't think it does anything. But I hear what you're saying, and I think we both going to come to the conclusion that he's going to have to prove himself.
Yep.
So what about, okay, I guess I'll phrase it this way. There are rumors that the Judgment Day, and they've been talking about looking for another member. Right? Damian Priest is gone. Rhea Ripley's gone. Finn Balor's fighting. Carlito's Carlito. And it's really just Dom and Liv with a little, like, Carlito and JD's on the shelf looking for another member. Is this other member either Aleister Black or Miro?
I could definitely see Aleister Black joining that group if they wanted to. I think he fits that whole vibe that they would go for. I could see it if they wanted to. And in that WWE system, he would be part of a featured storyline in WWE, which is something that I think he would want. Either guy would want, I should say. So if I had to choose, it would probably be Aleister Black of the two. But I could see it being either or. I really could.
I think it's more likely that it's Aleister Black, but I don't see him in this group. Look at this guy is a really talented guy, but I'm done putting Aleister Black or Malachi Black, or I'm done putting him anywhere near the top of anything before he proves himself as well. I don't really know what this guy is all about. I know that I enjoy seeing him sometimes. I think he overcomplicates a lot of things. And can he be trusted? I don't know. Maybe you think he can. But I don't have any faith in Aleister Black or Malachi Black that he is going to be there week after week after week and continue to be productive and continue to be consistent. Do you?
I don't. I've really lowered my thoughts on Malachi Black over the years in terms of how he's kind of conducted himself.
Yep.
And I still think there's a good wrestler there. I've seen when he's motivated, I think he could still be very good. the problem is I hear so much about him, like, just causing a scene and getting people in trouble in terms of, like, his guys in his stable. And, you know, there was talk for a while that he wasn't willing to do pins for other guys unless he respected that guy. Like, I would point it out on some of the pay-per-views that he would be booked for. It's like, let's see if this guy takes a pinfall on his back and see what happens. And the only one I could think of was Edge, Adam Cope, in that steel cage match off the top of my head. So, and then it's just other issues where it's like, I remember he bowed and it made it seem like he was leaving the company, and then he goes on social media. It's like, oh, why would people think that I'm leaving the company? Like, people are looking too deep into it. It's like, no, like, you put that, the common thing in wrestling is when you take a bow, you put your boots in the rain or whatever, that people think, oh, you're trying to leave. And then you can't just go back on us and say, oh, you're looking too deep into that, especially when you've in the past talked about how you try and put meaning into stuff and try and put extra thought into your work and your story and your character.
He wants people to believe that he's the most in-depth, fine-tuned, like, if you think that there's 100 points in the match, he's going to do 102.
Yep.
Because he's that in-depth. But then if people read into it, how dare you? Yeah, I don't like that either. So I guess my point would be the Redeemer in the Judgment Day, he would just be the face of the Miro would be the face of the Judgment Day, have his own little stable, a new leader, one that people I think would believe in, because I don't know who the leader is now. I have no idea. I don't think it's Finn, even though they're trying to kind of make it seem like it is, because all he does is job and lose every week.
Yep.
It's not JD McDonough. It might be Dom and Liv, but they don't act like it. They don't have one. And Miro's the Redeemer. Zach, the Redeemer in the Judgment Day.
I like it. The more that you say it, the more I like it. I mean, I love the character. I mean, I was on here saying my boy Miro on this show. I loved his TNT title run that he had. But I also have a lot of similar thoughts about him that I do with Malachi Black. I don't think as strong, but I think there is some looming stuff there in terms of, you know, if he wants, like, again, I think back to, there was a report that came out that he was not willing to lose in the finals of the tournament at AEW. I believe it was Full Gear, and it was to Hangman Page is what I had heard. So he wasn't willing to do that loss. Now, could it be more where how he was going to lose? I understand wrestlers have to, defend some of the booking that they're in and try and maintain their level, and I get it. But, on the surface, you're losing to Hangman Page, a guy who is one of the top guys in AEW. Shouldn't be that difficult of a process in my mind. So you have all of that, and then, he's always been very passive aggressive on social media as well in terms of his treatment of how he feels he's been treated in the company. And so
I know, but here's the thing with Miro, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to just say this real quick. He worked in WWE. He had a good run. He probably thought he was bigger than he was. He goes to AEW. He's not working in AEW anymore. Where's he going to work if he doesn't fall in line? Is he going to be an independent star? Is he going to go to TNA? Is he going to go to the NWA? Like, where's he going?
He definitely doesn't scream like a guy that wants to work indies. So,
I agree. So you either fall in line in the WWE or you kind of set sail in your career if you don't want to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
So I agree with you, but maybe, and that's the thing, like, his marriage dissolved. I would think he probably had a hard time with that. It didn't work out in AEW, and sometimes people will have a different take on life after a bunch of things happen. So we'll see. I just don't know where he's going to go if he doesn't want to fall in line. Like, who's going to take him? And I don't think he's going to be that big if somebody does. If he doesn't want to fall in line, if he wants to go and be the big shot on the indies, I just don't think it's going to work out very well.
No, me neither. And if he wanted to, he seems like a guy that wants a lot of control of how he's being booked if he was to do that. So I agree. And one thing too, before you get to the WWE releases that I wanted to make a point on too, if you're somebody on the WWE roster right now, and you've been somebody that's been in that system for a long time, whether it be going through NXT and then going onto the main roster, and you're hearing about all these guys that are going to come on TV and take a spot on TV, I would be, looking at that sort of stuff and thinking, how does this company view me here? Like, I think of a guy like, I think of the Street Profits, and I think of, how would they feel about seeing these guys like Pentagon's now on TV for WWE. Ricky Starks has just debuted. It sounds like, Malachi Black. I'm very confident that Malachi Black will go to WWE only because I feel like that is right in Triple H's ballpark in terms of booking and what he likes. And he's booked him well in the past.
Yep.
And then you got Miro as well. And if you're...
I totally agree. And with Malachi, remember his wife is there.
Yep, that
has
too.
been a long-time soldier. Zelina Vega for WWE, never left, has always kind of done the right thing. So maybe some trust with that too.
Yeah, for sure. And so if I'm somebody on the WWE roster and I'm looking at all these people coming in and you feel like, you've gone through the system, you've done everything you needed to do, like go through NXT and then go onto the main roster, and then you've tried to get yourself over, and now you're seeing these AEW guys come in and take a spot on TV, that will linger for some folks. And, I look at some of these guys that are potentially on the sideline, and they might be thinking, you know what, if they're doing that here, I might want to go to the other company. And I think that just shows like the healthiness of the business and how it's a good thing that you have all these talents moving over to each company to try and get a better push, a better spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I wanted to make that point as well, because I think it'll be interesting too, because, AEW as well, when they were hot, they were the company that talent wanted to go to. You had all these guys from WWE start to come in. Funny enough, Malachi Black, Miro, Andrade at the time, very similar, all coming in. And if you're somebody that was in AEW and you're thinking, oh, I helped build this company, I helped get this company over, I want to go to the other side. I think we're kind of seeing that shift right now in terms of now WWE's the hot company. All these AEW guys want to go over to WWE and, get a piece of the pie because it's a hot company. And there's people in the system in WWE that are probably looking and thinking, I should probably go over there because, I'm obviously not being valued here. The name I was trying to think of from Street Profits is Montez Ford. That's a guy I've been like, I think he could be something with the right push, but they've never pulled the trigger on him, and we've never really gotten a chance to see what he could do on his own. I think of a guy like that and see what he could do on the other end.
But he's not going on his own. They had a chance to do that, and they never did.
Yeah.
So, and now they're refocused and they're back. They're not doing that now.
No.
They would have done it 2 years ago.
No. What I'm saying is, like, if I'm him and I'm looking at that, it's like, maybe the other company and what they're doing is where I should go. So,
yeah, I don't disagree with that, especially because even now, what are the Street Profits? Are they faces? Are they heels? Are they tweeners? Are they involved in the tag team stuff? Are they like, I don't know. They're just kind of there. All right, the WWE releases, Zach.
Yes.
Who was it that stuck out to you?
In terms of immediacy, like, okay, I could see him going to AEW. Actually, was Cedric Alexander.
Okay.
And only for, obviously, he has the previous stuff with the Hurt Business in WWE. He could easily be somebody that they could slot in for the Hurt Syndicate. And he's always been somebody that is very good in the ring. And he could probably fit in that AEW system better than he would in WWE. Mm-hmm. And so I saw Cedric Alexander's name, and, it wasn't shocking that he was cut, but it was finally that confirmation of like, okay, he's out of the WWE, and he's got an opening in AEW if they want to expand the Hurt Business and really kind of get back to that form if they wanted to. And I think he would be a guy that you could rely on TV to have some good matches. Otherwise, in terms of the other names on this list, there really wasn't anybody that I look at. I'm like, man, this is an immediate need that needs to be filled by AEW ASAP. Like, this is a person that they should bring in. A lot of the names that I see, like I pulled up the list here, and I'll tell all the folks that maybe have missed it. Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor, Paul Ellering, Cedric Alexander, as mentioned earlier, Sonya Deville, Blair Davenport, Isla Dawn, Giovanni Vinci, the Good Brothers of Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and Elektra Lopez. None of those names really stick out to me. Maybe Sonya Deville, only because she was on TV, and it seemed like she was getting a push, and technically she's not released. It's her contract's going to expire, but they're not going to renew her deal. So maybe she could be somebody that they look at and kind of circle and maybe bring her in for shots.
Can't she be somebody on her own, or do they need to bring back Mandy Rose?
I think either or could work. I would personally try to see what she could do on her own first. And I'm not, but I wouldn't do it on like your main TV. I would keep it to like your Ring of Honors of the world and see what she could do there.
Mm-hmm.
She could be a nice little add to the women's division. I don't think she could be somebody that could be a main top drawing star or anything like that. But in terms of like a value add, in terms of like somebody in that mid card that you could utilize, I could totally see her being an asset. I've never been opposed to Sonya Deville on TV. I always thought she was decent enough. I was surprised how long she's been in that system. I can't believe Tough Enough, the last incarnation before we got to LFG, this news show, is 10 years old at this point, more than 10 years old. But she could be somebody. Otherwise, a lot of these other names, I just see, TNA or somebody that could work the indies. Paul Ellering seems like a guy that was just stealing money at this point in the company. Like, he really didn't provide as much value in 2025. They were trying to do the whole Road Warriors things, like, oh, he managed the Road Warriors, and now he's part of Authors of Pain. But I think that ship has well passed when it comes to that. Yeah, a lot of these are just scream TNA or NWA or MLW. So
Jey Uso picks Gunther at the beginning of Monday Night Raw, and we have our first WrestleMania match. Zach, is this going to be a main event on Saturday or Sunday?
If it does main event, I would see it as the Saturday show. I can't see them putting Jey Uso on at the very last on the Sunday show. So if they wanted to do it, I would see it Saturday. I personally don't see it. I see this more as something that you could open on night one, and you get a hot crowd. You get everybody doing the yeet right at the start when all the crowd is amped up right at the beginning. Everybody doing the yeet chant thing at the start is how I see it. I just, it would be a tough time for me if they could sell it as a main event. I could hear the argument of, they put it on last, but the actual drawing match is in the middle of the card, whether that be a Cena match or whether it be, a Roman match or something along those lines. But even then, I don't see those guys like to me, those are guys that you want to circle into your main event slot. So if they wanted to go all the way with Jey Uso, I would put them in the main. I would put him in the main event. I would put him on last. Like, show me commitment at this point, right? I always say it on the show. It's like, tell me you're committed to a guy, because the booking never lies at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me you're committed to him and put him on last. Will I like it personally? Probably not. But at least you're telling me we are committed to this guy and we are going to see this through and see if he could get over and push him. Because now, with the benefit of a couple of weeks and seeing how the TV is gone and whatnot, this is a company that's hot right now in WWE. Maybe not as hot as they were a year ago, but still pretty hot. They're still selling out a lot of buildings. And so they're at a point right now where it's like, all right, let's take a risk. Let's see if we can make a guy. And let's see if we can push a guy. And we have somebody at Jey Uso. Everybody likes to do the chant. Everybody likes to yeet. Everybody gets invested with that sort of stuff. Let's see where we can go. Now, I've always said, I we both agree he's not the greatest in-ring guy, but the big thing as well is that even with a lack of in-ring, if you are somehow able to connect with the crowd while you're wrestling, that makes a world of a difference, right? Like, for however we feel about Bill Goldberg, like, he was somehow able to connect with the crowd, right? And people were able to, like, buy into his matches.
So, and just to add on to that, you know how much I hate Goldberg.
Yes.
Like, I actually despise Bill Goldberg. However, if I were to tell people and show people the 5 biggest or 3 biggest reactions of really how they felt in a moment, Bill Goldberg against Hogan on Nitro, bad booking decision to put it on Nitro, gave it to him for free. Just, they bungled it so badly. Except for when you watch 40,000 people go out of their minds, that pop was a different pop than most.
Yep.
I would still show people that pop to go, that's what's right about professional wrestling. Right there. Because genuine emotion in Atlanta, over 40,000 going, oh my God, he just won. He just beat Hogan. That pop, crazy.
Yep.
So, yes, he could connect with fans.
Yep. So that's, to me, the missing ingredient right now with Jey Uso. Because I think...
What is?
The in-ring connection, the in-ring, like, connection, charisma with fans. That is, to me, if you really want to make that guy be something, yes, he's got the chant. Yes, people go crazy for the entrance. But I find personally, Lee, when the matches go on, it's very silent. And I know that this is a different WWE now.
Yeah, it is. And he hasn't won a lot of big matches, to be honest.
It's true. And that's also fair. But there is still that intangible that you need to kind of connect with the crowd. And I just don't really see it yet. And I know, like, immediately people will kind of point to, well, look at the reaction at the Royal Rumble when he won. But I put that more personally towards the shock and, oh my God, John Cena lost to Jey Uso in the Rumble. And, oh my God, they're actually going to go with Jey Uso. And as opposed to, oh my gosh, Jey Uso won. That's how I personally see it. I could be very wrong coming into Mania, and maybe he is finally able to click, but I've seen it time and time with this guy, and it just doesn't seem to click. And so if there's ever a time for it to click right now, it has to be now, because this is going to be the biggest push of his life when it comes to this. So
I think they're committed. I truly do. And the least of what I think is going to happen is they're going to main event Saturday night.
Yeah.
But I think they could main event Sunday night. I truly believe that, because the visual of Jey Uso winning the championship after 10 weeks of hell that Gunther is going to put him through, and going, like, I always think, I think like this. I think in reverse. How are they going off the air on Sunday night? What is happening at WrestleMania that on Sunday night, when the trademark comes up, what is going on the screen? 2 years ago, you had Cody sitting in the middle of the ring with Roman in the back and Cody despondent in the middle of the ring, setting up another year of storyline. And of course, last year, you go off the air with the story. The story. He finished his story. So I'll ask you, how do you think they're going off the air on Sunday night at WrestleMania, if you had to pick right now? Because I don't know that I'm 100% Zach, but I'm leaning 70-30 right now to 40 or 50,000 people in Vegas, whatever it is per night, yeeting at Yeetlemania with Jey Uso winning the title? I could be talked into something else, but tell me, what is the last shot that you see on Sunday night?
You're gonna get a kick out of it, Lee, because I'm standing firm on this.
Oh, it's not happening.
You don't think so?
If you tell me that John Cena is winning the title,
I think he's winning the title, Lee.
yeah, no, I don't think he is.
You don't think so?
No, I'm okay. So if you had to bet right now, it's John Cena winning the title going off the air on Sunday night?
As of today, as we record February 12th on a Wednesday night, yes. I just, the only other thing right now is and the reason why I think it is, like, who else will Cody feud with? And I know some might say CM Punk, but to me, I think the program for him is with Roman and Seth getting involved in some way as well. That seems to be the strongest teases for me. So that leaves to me what I think is the last big opponent to have Cody face off against, because you need to have him in a big time match. And I think you have to have him in the main event, especially with the title. And I think the money match would be a Cena-Cody Rhodes match. So that is the one that I'm thinking of leaving off Sunday night. Because you have the two big stars, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, 17th world title win. That's going to get a lot of buzz finishing off Sunday night. And if they wanted a main event with Jey Uso, I'm very confident with this fan base that if he were to main event night one and they have him win the title, because that's going to happen. Like, I that's pretty locked in for me that Jey Uso is going to beat Gunther at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And so you have that visual for night one, and you have the other visual of night two, for each kind of overcoming. I think that's how it will go. That is what I am assuming.
Okay.
And I will lock in as of this Wednesday. Now, obviously, if things change, God forbid somebody gets hurt, obviously that could change some things. But as of today, that's how I'm feeling right now.
So do you think that John Cena is winning the Elimination Chamber?
Yes.
Huh. The guy who... So explain to me this. And I don't know if this is Cena going heel. I'm asking. I'm not telling you.
Yep.
CM Punk on Monday night drew some attention to the fact that 5 guys had to win their way into the Elimination Chamber through winning a match to get into the Elimination Chamber. And the guy that hasn't won in 2,000 days, hasn't won a match in like 5 years, doesn't have to have a match to get in there? No, Punk didn't say hasn't won a match in 5 years. He said all of us have to win our way in to get a world title match at WrestleMania, but John Cena didn't. How come?
Because he's John Cena.
Right. So after not winning the Royal Rumble, like you said he was going to,
Correct.
and after not winning in 2,000 days and not having to qualify for a match, you think he's winning the Elimination Chamber?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you why you think they didn't have John Cena win a qualifying match to get in?
Because he's John Cena.
He's no.
Yeah.
Why the WWE didn't have John Cena? Not because he's John Cena, because he's CM Punk. He's Seth Rollins. He's like, come on. Well, why do you think they didn't have him win a qualification match?
They don't have as many dates as they would with some of their other wrestlers.
Zach, they have 36. He has 36 dates.
Correct.
This year.
Yep. I know.
He's been at 1.
Well, I think they're backloading some of those dates.
Okay, can I throw you another like actual reason and not he's got 36 dates and they don't want to waste them and he's in Hungary making a movie? Because They don't want to have John Cena win a qualification match. It takes away the story of him losing for 5 years. I don't think John Cena is winning the Elimination Chamber either.
Well, then who would he face off at Mania then?
Oh, I didn't say he couldn't get into the main event or in against Cody Rhodes. I just said I don't think he's winning the Elimination Chamber.
So do you think then it would be like a 3-way?
Yes.
Oh, God. Oh, come on.
I will give you, and it's not the 3-way that other people are thinking that it is. The only thing I can't get out of my head is this whole Logan Paul CM Punk thing.
Yep.
I'm actually torn completely because in my logical head, and I'm very logical, CM Punk came back to the WWE to main event WrestleMania. And I get it. He's different now. He's more mature. He doesn't snap off at everybody. But CM Punk comes back to just be eliminated in the Royal Rumble by Logan Paul, and then he gets Logan Paul at WrestleMania. And by the way, that didn't go very well because for the first time, Logan Paul looked very, I don't want to say out of his element, but very human in the ring talking with CM Punk.
Yep.
It didn't look like that's the megastar. By the way, that was the second worst one that happened in the WWE this week. But we'll get to the other one in a minute. So I'm a little bit concerned that CM Punk will face Logan Paul, but I can't, in my logical head, I'm like, so CM Punk comes back and then doesn't win the Royal Rumble, and then he goes to WrestleMania and he doesn't wrestle for the world title, and he's not wrestling Cena, and he's not wrestling Roman, and he's not wrestling Seth, but he's wrestling Logan Paul. That's what CM Punk is doing? Do you think CM Punk is happy about that? And do we think that that's the right decision? In my mind, I see Cody Rhodes and John Cena and CM Punk in the main event.
Okay.
That's how my mind works, because CM Punk is going to find a way to not be irrelevant again. And the WWE has treated him well, and he's treated the WWE well. And I don't see CM Punk in the middle of a Sunday card going up against Logan Paul in the third match of the night. I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks right now like they're headed that way, but my mind can't wrap around that right now from the Punk point of view.
Right. Can I throw out this idea?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still holding firm that I think Punk is going to get Roman and maybe Seth Rollins as well.
Yeah.
But definitely Roman. And I know we were talking about, with Jey Uso, would you have him in the main event or whatnot? Do you think it would be satisfactory because of the story they did tell with Punk joining up with Roman at War Games? And then, they had the chatter back and forth outside the ring, and Roman's going to be gone. He's not going to be in Elimination Chamber. And so they're saving it for when, you get the big CM Punk Roman Reigns confrontation, and you eventually do the, because there is still that looming plot line of the favor that was asked for, right? And I would have to think it would involve Mania when it comes to those two, and the tease that was done at Rumble. So what is that a potential WrestleMania main event match of CM Punk Roman Reigns? Let's just say it's CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Is that a main event that you could put on like night one?
Night one in the main event?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, because that's where I think it's going. And maybe Seth gets involved as well because, they've been building that up for the longest time. Literally from day one that Punk has been in, Seth has been kind of looming over him during his run. And you could still have the 3-way main event because WWE loves their 3-way main events. But if it's not Seth and it's just Punk and Roman, like, I see that as a WrestleMania main event. And again, going back to the Jey Uso stuff, you get a crowd that's hot right from the beginning. People want to see the title win. Everybody knows the title win is going to happen. And so you get that out of the way first. You get the big reaction that you're looking for. You start off hot. And then you also have Punk's main event that everybody, including you and I, we've all been saying it, that eventually Punk will get some sort of main event at WrestleMania. That's what he's wanted. And it would be against Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is somebody that they have treated as a main eventer since he broke off from the Shield. They've been committed to him through hell or high water. And they want to continue with the idea that he is a main event. When he's on the card, he's going to be a main event guy. So I think of all of that, and I think of all that story that's there, and I see your point about, Cena and whatnot, but I really do think they're going to do Punk and Roman of some variation, and that's going to be the main event of night one.
I think that's very logical. I'll throw out the other rumor that, I started and some hack wrestling writer picked up and threw out. That Ruthless Aggression is going to be the name of a WWE show in December in Boston.
Yep.
It was like, I told you that this was going to happen.
Well, the writer that you is Billy Batty, and Billy Batty is not exactly the most trustworthy guy. And I know there's a lot of talk about the wrestling journalists and whatnot, but like on the tiers of the wrestling journalism, he's like F tier and below when it comes to that sort of stuff. So I would look at that with a grain of salt because I'm appealing to your logical brain here. It makes logical sense, right? That they would have a pay-per-view in Boston, final pay-per-view of the year. It would be called Ruthless Aggression. It all makes sense. But I look at that writer and I'm like, oh, maybe, I don't know. I think he's trying to appeal to people's sensibilities and logic. Like, it would make sense to do that, right? I'm going to hold off on it until it gets officially confirmed.
And that's fine. But here's more than the name of the show or whatever is going to happen. I'm not all that concerned about that.
Right.
What I am concerned about, or I guess my thought process, is long-term storytelling. And long-term storytelling to me, well, I'm telling you right now, I will go, look, I don't know if John Cena is going to win Elimination Chamber in Toronto. I think it's a mistake if they do. But I'm going to tell you right now that John Cena is not winning the championship at WrestleMania. It ain't happening.
See, that one I could hear an argument for.
I don't think that's happening whatsoever.
Yeah. I think it's I won't say lock because it kind of got me the last time, but I will say that I am, and I said it last time with Jey Uso and the Cena stuff, and I get it, but I really feel like he's going to win Elimination Chamber. I think it just makes sense for him to win it there.
Yeah, I know. It makes sense for him to win the Rumble. It makes sense for him to go to Hungary and not compete. It makes sense, actually, Zach, for the first time in over 2,000 days in 5 years, that John Cena is going to win. But why? He hasn't beaten anybody, Zach.
Until he beats everybody in the Elimination Chamber and gets his title shot at WrestleMania. I think that's it just feels like it should happen, you know?
Okay. And it might. It absolutely might. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to win, but I'm telling you he's not winning the championship. And I do think at WrestleMania, and I do think that this long-term storytelling is going to be that John Cena cannot get over the hump. And he's going to work all summer long and into the fall to earn, to get on a win streak. I'm not saying he's going to win the title in December, but he's not winning it at WrestleMania. And with John Cena not winning it at WrestleMania, that match is not going on last. I am talking myself into Jey Uso winning the championship against Gunther in the main event of Sunday. I'm talking myself into it because they're not going off the air with Cody Rhodes beating John Cena and people not knowing really how to feel. I just don't see it whatsoever. A couple other things I do want to get to with WWE because we got to get to AEW. And those things are that if there was any thought that Charlotte Flair was going to wrestle Tiffany Stratton and maybe that was going to main event night one and people really want to see it, oh my God, Zach. I don't know if people saw SmackDown, but I went from this week's been a roller coaster with Charlotte Flair. Like coming back and last week Rumble, she goes through everybody. She talks to everyone. I didn't think she looked very good against Rhea Ripley the night after. We talked about that. She goes to NXT with Julia. She goes to Tiffany Stratton. But what I saw on Friday, Tiffany Stratton's not ready. Tiffany Stratton is the championship holder that people thought, oh my God, she could really go against Charlotte Flair. And if I'm the WWE and I have not committed, I might switch it back. I don't think they're going to, but I might switch it back to Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. Because I watched on Friday night and I'm like, I'm embarrassed. Like Tiffany Stratton she looked like out of place. She looked like she was overwhelmed at the moment. And it doesn't mean she can't be great. She's young. She's only been there for a year. I'm not crapping on her, but she was just nowhere near Charlotte Flair. And I was watching it going, I don't really care to see this. I'd rather see Charlotte and Rhea. It was just a tough moment, I thought, for Tiffany Stratton. It just didn't. I watched it going, okay, I know Charlotte's been in a bit of an up and down, but man, oh man, I don't want to see Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte. They might do it anyway, but it's not going to be anywhere near what people thought it might be.
Yeah, I think there's still some building to go with Tiffany Stratton. Obviously, I think there's a lot of potential there, but I don't think it's fully realized yet. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time with her in terms of her growing into the role. I agree with you.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to get to before we get to AEW, Zach, on Monday Night Raw, the World Tag Team, the Raw Tag Team, whatever they call them now, I don't know.
The Raw Tag Team Championships, yes.
were defended with the War Raiders against the Creed Brothers, correct?
Correct.
Doc, can you tell me how that match ended?
I feel like you're setting something up here, so I'm interested to hear how you outline this.
That match ended with the War Raiders being given the victory by disqualification over the Creed Brothers. Because the Creed Brothers, with a chance to win the Tag Team Championships in a spot they really don't deserve to be in, but they're on television wrestling on Netflix for the World Tag Team Championships. And they brought a belt into the ring and hit the War Raiders over the head with the belt as the match was going on, causing the Creed Brothers to be disqualified. Can you explain to me, Zach, please, I'm begging you. I have a chance to win the world championship. I go in, this is my shot. Even if I don't deserve it, I'm here. You're the world champion. And as the match is going on, I get frustrated and I'm going to hit you in the head with a title belt, causing myself to be disqualified and blowing any chance I ever had of dreaming of winning the championship because I'm hitting you with a title belt. Can you explain to me any logic in this? Any at all? And then I know what's going to happen. I feel it in my bones that somehow we're going to get explained that the War Raiders are mad that they hit him with the belt and they're going to give them another shot. Zach, this is one of the dumbest logical moments I've ever witnessed. A young tag team getting a world tag team title opportunity and hitting their opponents, the champions, over the head with a belt, causing themselves to be disqualified. I'd love to hear an explanation.
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, the crowd booed and they held up the World Tag Team Championship. So maybe they weren't feeling it that night, Lee. And we're like, you know what? We probably can't get them now. But if we DQ ourselves, maybe, the general manager of Raw, Adam Pearce, will be able to set up a future tag team rematch.
Why would he ever do that? Why wouldn't you just go to the bottom?
Well, he might be just sitting there like, man, I need a clean finish here. Like we didn't get anything clean. I need something definitive here. We got to do the match again.
Definitively, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You get your one shot and you blow it because you bring a belt in the ring and crack the guy over the head with it, causing your own team to lose. Who was in, as you said, who is the writer for this? Who is sitting in the back going, I know how we're going to end this, guys.
I've got a great idea.
We're really going to get them with this one.
Yeah.
You guys go in, you're trying to win the championship, but instead you get yourselves disqualified by hitting them over the head with the title, and we'll work it into the story that somehow you'll get another chance.
Bro, they won't know what hit them, bro. It's a swerve unlike anything else you've ever seen, bro.
Vince, it's so good to hear you, Vince.
Bro, nice. I've got an idea, bro. What if the tag team challenges, bro, instead of the tag team champions hitting the competitors,
you would think, yeah,
you do the opposite and they hit them, bro, they would never see it coming. Bro, this is such a great idea, bro. We are going to book it right now.
Right, because we've seen, Vince, we've seen a million times, as you just said, the champions who look like they're going to get beat resort to some sort of chicanery to get themselves disqualified, losing the match, but saving their titles.
Bro, you can come at me with your stories and your long-term booking. Bro, I book for the ratings, bro. It's a television show. And what does a television show do, Lee? It brings in ratings. That's my job. The wrestlers, they can figure out the story. Bro, I'm just here for ratings, bro. That's what it's all about here in pro wrestling, bro.
Oh my God, Vince, it's great to have you back on the program. And honestly, Zach, I couldn't even, like, I actually enjoyed like Gunther coming out and attacking Uso while he was yeeting on the table. They go into what I thought, and look, it was helped out, but I gotta give him credit. It was a decent women's tag team match. Io Sky looked fantastic. And then Liv Morgan got cut, I think, on the knee brace.
Yes, I believe it was the knee brace.
I think it was the knee brace. Anyway, she got really cut, which helped the match a lot. But for the first time in a Liv Morgan match in almost a lifetime, when it ended, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Oh my God, that was over 14 minutes. I wasn't bored.
Flew by.
But then, yeah, because Io Sky was amazing.
Yes.
But
Sky
then,
flew by. Yeah.
But then Lyra Valkyrie, just Intercontinental Champion, just lost to Bayley because I'm going to call her Boring Bayley.
Wow.
BB.
Like from the Attitude Era, right? Isn't that the name of one of the nurses from Attitude
BB,
Era?
Yeah. Not quite the same, but
no.
I'm bored to tears every Bayley match. Every one.
Wow.
And then why would you ever have your Intercontinental Champion lose for no reason? I don't know. I just
Bro, you could keep on coming at me, bro, with all this. Oh, she's the champion, bro. But again, bro, I keep telling you this, bro. It's a television show. Right. I don't care if it's on Netflix. It's a television show.
So the Intercontinental Champion just gets beat clean for no reason by the number one contender to the NXT Championship. Oh, okay, cool. Followed up with the tag team titles on the line, and guys just getting disqualified because I guess I lost my cool. But don't worry, Creed Brothers, you'll be back. Hated. Oh my God. Hated all of this. So, yeah, before we get to AEW, I want to, like I said last week, and I still feel that way. I think all the stars, the Elimination Chamber is setting up where I think there's some more mystery. You got big stars in it coming up in Toronto and the men's for, Cena and Punk. And Seth is going to be in it. And Logan Paul's in it. You got some big time star power. I'm excited about that. A little bit disappointed with how some things have gone on this week, but that's okay. I still don't know where they're going, so I'm still intrigued with what's happening. Let's get to AEW, Zach, and AEW Grand Slam taking place in Australia. 5 matches, going to be on sometime after the NBA All-Star game on Saturday night. I would say 10:30 or 11 o'clock, give or take. Somewhere in there for those who actually want to watch it. And it will be main evented by your favorite, Tony Storm and Mariah May. Do you think it's a good decision to have that be the main event?
Well, I will agree with you that I think it will main event. Obviously, I disagree with it being my favorite. In fact, quite the opposite, actually. But I think it makes sense to main event it. I think it will main event. Personally, I think it will main event because by the time the main event will roll around, it'll be a 2-hour show, and let's assume that it's going to start at 11 o'clock. So I assume the main event match will go at like 12:45. So I am okay with that. I think it's smart to keep it in the main event. However I feel about the story, I don't think it's as over as people make it out to be. Again, similar to how I feel with Jey Uso in terms of there's this connection that's missing. I feel this connection missing at points when it comes to the Timeless Tony stuff and the Mariah May stuff especially. So having said all of that, I think I do see it main eventing, and I think that will be like a nice little make good for the fans of this story. And you can say that this storyline main evented a big show for you. So I think that will be the case. I think the smart thing to do when you have the All-Star game, and I've heard this idea and I'm going to relay it here, is, we mentioned before that it should be Omega Ospreay versus Takeshita and Fletcher to start off the show. That's the first thing you should see after the All-Star game is over. And the explanation I had heard was fantastic in that, you have these very athletic guys, like almost right away when they cut in, it should be like bell ringing and they're going in and they're doing their stuff, and it should be fast paced right from the start, because you're coming off of the high pace action from the slam dunk contest in terms of like these athletic feats that are being done. What a transition that would be to then go into a high-paced athletic wrestling match after that, so that when all the NBA fans kind of keep tuning in for the next couple of minutes, not everyone's going to stay, obviously, but the first thing they see is after they see this great athletic display for the dunk contest, it's like, oh, I'm seeing these incredible athletic wrestlers in the ring, and they're doing all this stuff, right? I think it just makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, all that to say, I think, 5 matches, I assume would be, a collision length show based on the way that it's being promoted. We could do a look back on the show once it's done, and we can look back on some of the things that have happened with this when it comes to promoting this and obviously changing to different venues. But I do think there are some potential benefits that could pay off for them here. I think last check, they're supposed to have at least over 10,000 people in the building, so that is going to be good for AEW on that front, considering, their attendances the last year. So I think there's some good stuff to look forward to on this show. I am looking forward to it. I've enjoyed the recent stretch of TV that they've done. It seems like, based on reports, that Tony Khan is kind of back to getting more control over the booking. And I've been somebody that said, I don't think, while he is the overseer, the guy who makes the final decisions and has the responsibility, I don't think he's as bad as a booker as people make him out to be. I think he's just got bad. I think the people that he's listening to are not great, and that's kind of influenced some of his booking decisions in the last year. And so I am interested to see how this show will go. And yes, I do think the Mariah May Tony Storm match will main event.
And Tony Storm will win?
Yes.
Okay. I agree. I think this is, I hate to say it, when I was crapping on WWE, and especially their show in Australia, for the fact that Rhea Ripley main evented against Nia Jax, I thought it was too much for the hometown and not enough for the rest of the people. I think we were pretty consistent on that.
I would say so.
Why is Rhea Ripley in the main event against Nia Jax? If this was not in Australia, she'd never be there.
Correct.
So on this card, you have Harley Cameron wrestling Mercedes Moné. Harley Cameron grew up 30 minutes from Brisbane. You have a Brisbane brawl between the Death Riders and Adam Copeland and Jay White. I'm not calling him by the other name, the short form. You have Buddy Matthews, who's Australian as well, going up against Kazuchika Okada. 3 of the 5 matches have direct ties to Australia. And then, look, I'm excited about Omega and Ospreay against Fletcher and Takeshita because they're 4 great athletes and it should be really good. But those are 4 very international stars. Not that Kazuchika Okada isn't, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, those guys are known around the world. I just think this is a very, very niche card for those in Australia. And I don't like it. It doesn't feel like a big event to me. But I will pick Tony Storm to win the championship and Mercedes Moné to defend. Kazuchika Okada to keep his championship. I think Ospreay and Omega are winning. And then you can probably talk me into, and Jay White's from New Zealand, of course, too, right?
Yep.
So it's just so, put to Australia and New Zealand. It just doesn't feel authentic enough. I don't know who's going to win the Brisbane brawl. I would have the Death Riders win. I don't know if they're going to, but do you think anything big comes from this card? And who do you think is going to win? I just went through my picks.
I don't think it will be anything crazy significant. I do see Toni Storm getting the victory over Mariah May and getting that women's title. Obviously, I feel like the sooner we can get this title out of this feud between Mariah May and Toni Storm and moved on to something else, I think the better, because I think it's just been in this program for too long and they need to have some people underneath to come up and challenge. I think it's going to be a combination of, I agree, Omega Ospreay are going to win that match. I think Ospreay has an understated Aussie backing that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. He was somebody that tried to build the indie scene in Australia when he toured, so I could see that being a victory there. I think Okada will retain his belt over Buddy Matthews. I think Mercedes Moné is going to retain her championship over Harley Cameron. I think it's just too soon to do the push for Harley. I think she's very talented, but I think there's still room to grow with her. I personally wouldn't even put her into this slot, but I think with the way that the Australia card went, they kind of saw this as an opportunity to try and put her over. But I don't think she's going to win. And what's the other match? Oh, the Death Riders. I could see them doing the Adam Copeland victory, because obviously we're going to get Adam Copeland, John Moxley later on at Revolution. So I think they could do the tease of him winning in the tag match, and that kind of sets up their program in the future. So I'll go with a tag team of Jay White and Adam Copeland.
Before we go, Zach, we have a new IWGP World Champion.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love it.
It's Goto time.
That's right.
As Goto defeats Zack Sabre Jr. for the championship, and maybe has put New Japan back on track. I'm very anxious to hear your thoughts on Goto living out his boyhood dream and winning the championship over Zack Sabre Jr. And then what's next for both of those guys?
You want to talk about long-term storytelling here, Lee? For literally like over 15 years, Goto has been so close. He's won G1s. He's won, big time matches to get into the main events and challenge for the IWGP Championship, but he can never get there and never win the big one until today. And now I can say, Lee, the G in IWGP stands for Goto, and Hiroki Goto is your new IWGP champion. I was very surprised. I thought they were going to commit to Zack Sabre Jr. a little bit longer and see if they could build him up a little bit more. Obviously, for New Japan right now, this is a time where they are trying to get some stars over underneath. And so I thought maybe they would try and commit to Zack Sabre Jr., but the attendances haven't looked that great for New Japan, not as much as they would be hoping for, especially with their Korakuen Hall shows. So I think they saw a guy in Goto who's he's still very good. In fact, I think he's very underrated. Doesn't get enough love. A lot of the Goto matches I've seen, I think he's a very good worker, and there are wrestlers in the scene today that take a lot of the moveset that Goto does. And I think they saw an opportunity to pay off the story and decide to go with Goto and see what they could do with Hiroki Goto at this point. He could still go, and he's still in his early 40s. So he's still got some to go as well. So I really liked it. I love the story that they told in the match. I did get a chance to see it yesterday, and I loved the match. I thought it was very, very good. I'm a big fan of both of those guys, and I am fascinated to see where it goes with Goto. I think it's an interesting move. They're going to try and establish him. I could easily see it where it's a short reign for Goto, and they put the belt right back onto Zack Sabre Jr. if they wanted to. And then you got the taste of Goto as champion, but it gets taken away. Kind of like for the American equivalent of being like Dusty Rhodes, where he would have these short title reigns. But I loved it. I thought it was a very good match. And I'm excited. Again, Lee, the G in IWGP stands for Goto, and we are ready for an IWGP reign for Hiroki Goto.
So I think a lot of people listening to this, Zach, would think, what's happening with Zack Sabre Jr.?
I think he'll still be in the title picture. I think Goto will hold on to it for a little bit. I don't think too long. Relative to other IWGP title reigns, I could see him holding it until the G1. I believe there's another show. They still have the Dominion show, so maybe he loses the belt there, and maybe they do a Zack Sabre Jr. rematch, if they wanted to. So I don't see him carrying the belt all the way into Wrestle Kingdom. I don't even really see him keeping the belt until the Forbidden Door show, which will take place in the UK. I think it just makes sense for them to get the belt back on Zack Sabre Jr. So I could see Goto holding the belt for a couple of months. You got the nice feel-good story, and then Zack Sabre Jr. kind of works his way back up quickly and then gets another title match. And that's something that they could try and draw with. So I don't think he'll be out of the title picture. I think he'll still be hovering around and getting the title back. I think they just wanted to kind of do a payoff here for a moment in New Japan. So
no chance that Zack Sabre Jr. is on his way back to North America?
I don't see it. I think he's still signed to New Japan for a little bit. So I think he'll be committed till at least the next Wrestle Kingdom, and then we'll see from there, because it's different how contracts work there, because usually in New Japan, it's always funny when I see the wrestling sites is like, oh, this guy's contracted New Japan, the foreign guy who usually comes from the States, his contract is up at the end of Wrestle Kingdom. It's like, yeah, that's how all the contracts work there in New Japan. They usually sign for 1-year deals at a time. If you're lucky, it's 2 years. So I think he's going to be committed until the next Wrestle Kingdom, and then we'll see from there.
Well, we'll see if Zach stays up for Grand Slam coming up on the weekend. We do wish everybody safety. You mentioned some of the totals were expected here in Ottawa to get, I think, 30 centimeters tonight, tomorrow, and then another 30 on the weekend. So looking at quite a bit of snow coming in. So hope everybody stays safe in and around everywhere where people are listening from right now. Zach, always good to catch up with you. Enjoy Snowmageddon in Vegas and Bell Vegas.
Bell Vegas, yes.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing.
People
mix it up all the time.
We do have a casino here, so I think that counts.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
But look forward. We got a lot still to come. Obviously, we'll be back after Grand Slam coming up on Saturday for AEW, and by then SmackDown will be on again, and we'll have a lot to talk about, as we always do, as we head towards the Elimination Chamber the following weekend, which is exciting as well. So lots coming up here on This Is Wrestling. Zach, stay safe. Enjoy the weekend, my friend.
You too, Lee. Hopefully it's not too bad and it's they kind of oversell it, but we'll see. Stay safe, everybody that's listening in, that's in the local area.
Now, weather does get oversold sometimes, but when it's not oversold, it can be very dangerous, as you said. So
very much so.
So for Zach McGibbon, I'm Lee Versage. We really appreciate you being with us. That's another edition of This Is Wrestling.